Go for it, Newman. Thank you.
All right. I get to be the first voice on the recording. Today is April 25th. This is a meeting of the HSC, Holistic Systems Cooperative, of a developing DAO, a developing community of service providers and a service DAO. My name's Newman. This is the check-in introduction. I'm in the Eastern time zone. I'm in New York, coming from New York City. I'm excited this week. Perhaps it's the waxing moon. I had a real bust you in the face new moon, just where all my energy just washed right out of me. And, you know, I was just like, what in the world is going on? But now I feel the seeds are sprouting and things are coming up. The leaves are all out on the trees on my block. I'm walking around, I'm going to the gym. I'm feeling excited and energetic. And I'm happy to share a small introduction of my last couple of weeks here in this community. So I hope that sometime later on in the meeting, you'll give me 5 to 10 minutes to go through a little onboarding slideshow presentation. And I'd like to pass the rock over to Eli E. Joanna.
And welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you, Newman. Hello, Kimberly. So, yeah, as the screen says, I'm called Eli, and this is Joanna. We are in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta region of Colombia, known as the heart of the world right now. Been working on a pilot project here, started in 2018, and then was part of it put on pause, on the ground was put on pause during the whole shenanigans of the last few years. And as soon as we were able to, we came back and have continued the work down here, which Newman, also echoing what you went through, we had one of the strongest, hardest ceremonies of our life during the full eclipse, which was on the new moon. Really something else, topic for another time, but just to echo that back, it wasn't just there. But yeah, I don't know how much you guys know about what we do. We're all part of an organization called the Universal Foundation for Holistic Design. We work in a bunch of different areas. A lot of our energy is put into sharing, education, really focusing on complex dynamic ecosystems, how they function, beginning internally, understanding how this complex dynamic ecosystem functions, how energy moves throughout, and the principles through which they function, and then extrapolating that knowledge onto external ecosystems. Of course, these external ecosystems are much larger, vast, some infinite. And so having a direct experience of this, we find extremely helpful. And you can derive a lot of knowledge and provide different angles for understanding complex dynamic ecosystems externally. And then using all of this knowledge, studying how humans design systems and taking a whole of the parts approach. So looking at whole systems design. And then with all of this in place, we basically set up the foundation to specialize in restructuring societal systems so that they work in concert with the existing Earth systems, naturalized systems of this planet. Roca.
La Roca. Okay, this is Joanna. Well, echoing what what Eli was saying. Many teams are we working right now in different areas, like also focusing with the getting from the traditional ecological knowledge, working with the communities here, the indigenous communities, yeah, I'm also like in the part of the design area, like in the graphic design and art, if I can say, area. So is also mixing with the how nature works. So like trying to connect more of how things become into life, or not things. I don't want to call it things, but like in nature. And so yeah, it's very exciting times because I love design, and more in the holistic way, even better. So when we design, of course, has to have a functionality, and that's what I love about design. And what better than nature to learn from nature? So we are in that path, and working with this deeply, and integrating every knowledge and from every human being and animal and being around us. And yeah, it's just beautiful also to be here and hear about you guys. That sounds like very similar, of maybe we will connect a lot with what you guys are doing. And yeah, thank you for this, for sharing with us.
Pass it over.
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna pass to Maui.
Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, excellent. I am called Maui by most people. I've been working with the UFHD for a few years now, and it's been real enlightening. I'm glad to have a community of like-minded people to work with. I like to work with my hands. I love the physical world. I love being connected to it. I love getting my hands dirty. I love to grow things or watch them grow, I suppose, and assist and facilitate nature's wonder wherever possible. Yeah, I'm interested in regenerative farming, or in what that will turn into, which is, in my opinion, probably more or less just hosting nature and being a part of it. So yeah, within the UFHD, we have different people with different skills, and yeah, I'm excited to add what I have to offer, and to see everyone else's skills blossom in collaboration. So, and I'm excited to hear what we're gonna, or how we can integrate with other groups, because I think that's key going forward. Yeah, the destructive forces, the degenerative forces seem to be quite well organized, so I think we need to be too. And yeah, I'm looking forward to contributing to more regenerative systems. So yeah, I guess I will pass the stone on then to, who hasn't had a turn yet, the trio of ladies.
Okay, throw the stone. Thanks, Maui. I'll speak first. I don't have a lot to say other than I echo my cohorts or team players, the same sentiment. I love community, and co-founded the UFHD with Eli, and I'm very interested in making headway moving forward in the future to have more natural, regenerative, holistic systems in all areas of our lives. And it's been quite a journey, even just to establish our intentions and where we want to go. My love is to hold community and do ceremony, hold space for people to heal. That's my whole background is working as a healer and teaching, sharing wisdom, also carrying on with my own journey, healing journey, which is continuous. Really enjoy that as well, and love that there's other people out there such as yourselves that have created this cooperative group. I think that's amazing. That there is other people thinking the same line. I love that. Yeah, that's me out here in sunny Alberta. I'll pass the rock to Becky.
So my name is Becky, and I've been a part of the UFHD now for 3 years.
Yeah.
About that. I am a huge believer in the acceptance of that we are stewards for the earth, stewards for the plants, stewards for the animals, and for future generations. And so it is, the UFHD has always had a very strong emotional pull in my my belief system, I guess you would have to say. It holds a very strong place there. Like Corel, I'm a healer, or in the healing field, and my wish is that it's health and wellness for everybody on this planet and for everything on this planet. And if we could all coexist in peace and harmony, that would just make me so happy. And I pass the rock now to Michelle.
Hello, everybody. I'm Michelle. Thank you, Becky. I'm part of this team, and we do energy work together. I have been with a member of the UFHD pretty well since it started. And really, my interest is in the human ecosystem, really. It's when we heal within, then we can make change in our external realities. So as within, so without. I'm learning a lot about the ecosystem, and I really didn't know a lot about it, but I know that we're kind of working in parallel because everything is part of the other. And when you watch nature, you can apply that to human nature, and human nature is really where my interest of healing lies, and through that to make all the changes in the agricultural world and the realities that we're creating. So that was always my excitement as being part of the U of HD, and the opportunity to learn and grow and understand the other realities that are out there, and how can we synergistically work with those and find that collaborative space where we're all transforming together towards the same intention. So really happy to be here, and feel very honored that we can sit in the space with you. Thank you.
So who you passing the rock to?
Oh, yes.
And I will pass the rock to Jeff. Throwing the rock at you because you're new on the screen.
Yes, hey, hello everybody. I've been waiting for all of you in the other link that we had for the regular meeting. I didn't know that. I just checked the Discord and found out, oh, we're having a meeting here. So I'm glad to have found you. This is delightful to see more of us coming together, recognizing that we are the ones we have been waiting for, right? So I'm very, very happy to be here. Just as a little background, I've been working for 25 years and that what I'm bringing forth and my connection to this group is having read what Rob wrote in the website and totally resonated. And I said, all right, well, I don't have to start from scratch. They already did my website or something that totally resonates with me, basically. So, and I've showed up and it's been delightful and it's going to be a lot of fun. So welcome to everybody. Who hasn't checked in yet?
Kimberly. Yeah.
Kimberly.
So I pass it to Kimberly.
Hello, everybody. I am in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the United States. I work with the D Studio. I'm a storyteller. I am a little bit of a fish out of water in this group, I think, because I'm not a healer, but I am a nurturer and a caretaker. Actually taking care of someone right now who just had a hip replacement. Yeah, putting my little skills to use. But I have been working since 2020 in the seeds ecosystem in Haifa had been working with the seeds library and storytelling and actually August of 2021, maybe it was 2020. Anyway, Basil and I began to travel around the country to the various to see the various groups and the members of Seeds and Haifa to begin telling the stories. And we've pulled together footage over the last few years and are now proceeding with some film work and putting things all together and talking to investors and foundations to start what we're calling borrowed lands. Because of course, as your website says, energy is all borrowed. We have to return it. Same with the lands. The lands are not ours. We just live on them and take care of them. And so we want to tell the stories of the people like you, the people who are working on the ground, the people who are healing in this ecosystem, and what your work is, and moreover your impact in bringing people together to heal the land, to of course regenerate the land so that it is here for future generations if it's not too late, at least for us. I am more on the practical side of things, as everybody found out in the meeting last week, that I love to hear everybody's stories and sense out, but I'm kind of behind the scenes and I'm kind of quiet that way. And so I like to hear your stories when I hear more about what everybody's doing, and hopefully have an opportunity to travel one day and meet you and tell your story. And I think I will pass this stone back to Rob.
Down there. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody. Oh, this is beautiful. It's yeah, I guess it's sort of like I was, saying in my check-in, these coming together with groups like this, it can't help but be inspiring to me. And hearing everybody's stories and really the alignment in purpose, because I think that's what we, from a place of collaboration, I think that's, probably where we all start, is that alignment in the shared purpose. And then it's like, what realms then does that, manifest in? Right. And it's so, is really neat, to, see the, where you talked about holistic design, and then, the holistic systems. And I saw, there was a place in your website where you had that phrase holistic systems, and I don't know, I got a kick out of that because it's just, you know, the really thinking about things in this same way. And so, yeah, I mean, my you know, my impulse, you know, is always to just sort of start getting into details and saying, okay, well, how can we collaborate? And you know, in the sort of action items, and you know, in what, you know, resources can we share and how to work together, you know. And there's also you know, maybe we can start with questions that you have. We can start with like kind of maybe a larger you know, viewpoint. And just to reflect on what I heard, I thought it was and I wasn't particularly, you know, expecting, you know, many of you to talk about being healers. And I think that that's you know, that touched on something that's important, which is you know, for me, and wanted to share about like how Holistic Systems Cooperative, you know, came to be, was really that I was you know, supporting like healers in their, you know, in their practices, in their ventures, and trying to, you know, help run and grow their entrepreneurial ventures. And so, you know, that's the kind of core base of things, you know, for me, is wanting to support like helpers, healers, and visionaries. And, you know, I wasn't doing that for very long until it got, you know, clear that you know, our societal structures, you know, aren't really set up for, you know, people to be, you know, working and offering their gifts and abilities and skills into the world, you know, in the healing realm. Yeah, it's not really, yeah, it's not set up for that to happen, not on a, you know, on a large scale, in a large scale way. And so, you know, so I said, all right, well, that's, you know, then what would it take to actually help facilitate that, you know? And you know, really have to get, you know, radical as far as you know, how we're coordinating and collaborating with each other, and moving away from, you know, because, you know, if we're trying to support ourselves, you know, by being a healer, helper, a regenerative business, if we're trying to support ourselves by doing that in the conventional way, you know, then in my opinion, we're competing against each other, which you know, doesn't seem to work very well for in that realm. So then, you know, how can we collaborate with each other, and how can we come together and, you know, in an ecosystem, and lift each other up? And so, you know, I think that the web, like these DAOs and Web3 and these, you know, new organizational structural technologies, you know, like I said, have a lot of potential in them. And, you know, and I think that there's like, I think, you know, one way I look at it is it is about healing, you know, whether it's talking, you know, like, you know, I do think it's, you know, like an inside out job, you know, at the core. You know, so there's like healing ourselves, there's healing like the land and how we steward it. And then, you know, there's a way where I feel like we need to heal our business and economic systems. Like there's healing that needs to happen there. And so, yeah, so I want to kind of open things up to like just thoughts about that, or, you know, questions about holistic systems, and, you know, just that curiosity of how we can help, you know, each other in our shared missions and shared purpose.
So I ask a question in a different way, maybe. What is the mission that you have articulated for it's holistic design? What is UFHD? What is this stands for?
Yeah.
Universal Foundation for Holistic Design.
Universal Foundation for Holistic Design. Right. So how would you describe the mission and the vision that you have for as you came together to give birth to what?
Right. Well, the vision was to create holistic systems that support human and earth well-being. So regenerative systems. That's the vision. And that just doesn't mean one thing. It means all the things Rob touched on: business and healthcare and education and the way we grow our food. So it's a big, huge dream, but we need to start somewhere. And part of that is a little bit of a challenge. We've gone through ups and downs of trying to figure that out. And one of the things we do know that's really important is something that we ran a couple of times called the reinculturation process, was to really dive deep into what needs to heal within us. And so that's an ongoing thing. And that's one of the challenges. And so we introduced something to help with that, which was with cacao ceremonies, to just be able to reach the people at a really common ground, something simple that would allow them to start to explore that area, bringing community together. At least that's kind of the beginning place. There's more working parts, of course, lots of working parts. But moving forward, it's like what Rob mentioned, it's a big challenge. Like, how do we show up in the world that's different, that it catches on to some degree of what this intention is? I see that there's way more people creating groups and wanting to do parts of things for the earth, for humans, et cetera, et cetera. But again, our mission's a little different in its own self. We do need help organizing ourselves probably in a better way, so that we are all heading in the same direction. If I said that correctly. Oh.
Eli, do you have anything to add?
And Eli probably has something to add.
Yeah, that was beautifully stated, Carell. Always, this is a bit of a interesting question because we work in so many areas and there's such profundity in these different areas that to say it so quickly is a little difficult. But what we can say is the aim of the foundation is to restructure societal systems to work in concert with natural earth systems, with life-sustaining ones. We focus in three main areas. We could say the personal sphere, the interpersonal sphere, and the societal sphere. So in the personal sphere, we are looking at how this complex dynamic ecosystem functions. We're looking at our programming. We're looking at, for an example, when we're restructuring systems, it's not enough just to say what's wrong with this system, what needs to change. We need to look at why we built this system. This system was made in the image of its creator. So until we understand, as an example, why do we have a debt-based monetary system? That's insane. If we have something that's supposed to generate wealth, to be in charge of wealth, why would you make it debt-based? But if we look at our own lives, if we look at how we're living, we're constantly extracting from our greater self, the earth and earth systems. We're constantly running a debt. We're not returning to our family, to our greater self. There's a constant debt being accrued. So it's very natural that whether you want to look at this energetically or you want to look at this just how our neurons are firing and wiring together, we are going to create things that we are. And so we've developed debt-based monetary systems. But we go through all the major areas of human life and look and trace the roots back into us. So there's no more pointing out here. Why are you idiots? Why are you doing that? Once we start to really take back ownership, we realize, wow, it's me. I'm the one that needs to change, not you. And so this is where the reinculturation that Carell was talking about, the reinculturation process comes in, is really when we say taking back the power, actually taking back the power, the responsibility, and it's not a negative thing. It's not I'm to blame, but I'm responsible. So let's move forward. And so we're looking at how energy moves through this complex dynamic ecosystem, how energy gets restricted, trapped, or suppressed. This is how blockages are formed. Anytime energy is not moving or is blocked, this will lead to dysfunction or disease. Now, the same principles involved in this internal system are the same as any external complex dynamic ecosystem. So this is much smaller and we have direct access to it. So it's much, I wouldn't say easier, but more direct experience involved in studying this. We can extrapolate that knowledge onto how external complex dynamic ecosystems function. This is where the interpersonal sphere comes in, where we're studying holistic design. We're looking at the interplay between the internal and the external. We're looking at how ecosystems function, how the principles that are involved, you know, in a world of constant change. It makes a lot of sense to look at principles. A lot of value and information can be derived to that. And then when we go to each bioregion, which is different, we automatically have a way of starting to understand what's going on, even though the plants and the ecology, many things are different. Through understanding the personal and the interpersonal, then we use all this knowledge with our understanding of studying human systems, how to redesign from a whole systems perspective. So as Buckminster Fuller would say, a whole to parts approach rather than a parts to whole approach. And we could go on and on and on, but this is mainly what we've been working in the last 5 years that our foundation has been set up. Now, we actually have holistic designs. So to be a holistic design, it's a fractal design. It has to deal with all areas, like Corel was saying, of human life, but focused in one area. So we're working on right now in Colombia, a pilot project restructuring the agro-industrial supply chain all the way from soil to stomach. And without going into too much detail and taking up a lot of time, basically we're working with the tribes in the area, the scientists and the farmers to build polyculture systems in each bioregion. And then directly through the same system, transparent, open source, modeled on a living vessel, our structure I'm speaking of, to then bring these goods directly to market. And there's a lot we can go into there, but this is what's going on, why we're here in Colombia at the moment. A lot of talking. Okay, passing it on.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's so much, you know, in there that you said and sparked, you know, a lot in me. So thank you for sharing all that. Yeah, and right. So yeah, who else would like to share? I don't, you know, it's just, I'm like, oh, okay, now I want to like say a bunch of stuff, but I really want to keep the floor open.
Rob, could you explain a little more about what a DAO is?
Sure, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, well, so, you know, so a DAO is, you know, DAO is like the term is for decentralized autonomous organization, which is what has, you know, where it started at and has come on, but it's, you know, really in these spheres, it's like a decentralized human organization or holonic organization, because you know, it's rare that one is going to be completely autonomous. And it's, you know, there's different ways to think about it. I'm not even like the DAO expert, but you know, it's a way of, to me, you know, one way to describe a DAO is it's a community brought together around a shared purpose with a shared treasury. So that's one way to sort of boil it down. I think about it as, you know, like a decentralized, self-managed, co-owned or user-owned organization that utilizes like Web3, blockchain, you know, smart contract technology to help facilitate that happening. So you know, like the organizational structures, as far as like, you know, the nested circles and, you know, based on like holacracy and sociocracy and teal organizations, you know, don't necessarily require like the, you know, a DAO. They don't require that, you know, new technology, but usually they're going, you know, kind of part and parcel with each other. You know, and I see a lot of promise there because of the ability to tokenize, you know, value, to create a different, you know, a different method for value exchange, which can then, you know, then opens up like, you know, all the different kinds of value that people have to bring, you know, rather than just the very, you know, constricted, you know, way that people are compensated for the value they bring in our current system. You know, there's really like, it's made, you know, people get paid in our system, you know, for doing certain things. And that's, yeah, that's a pretty narrow lens for how much actual, you know, value it is that different kinds, you know, like these, you know, different kinds of capital or resources. And so, yeah, and so, you know, it allows, and then, you know, the decentralized aspect, you know, is that, you know, then brings in like the governance aspect and the ownership aspect, you know, which is, you know, certainly there's different ways to set it up, you know, and so, you know, another aspect of this DAO is that it's co-created by the community. So it's not, so we just like the people in the community decide, you know, they make up like the guidelines, and they decide how, you know, what's the constitution and what are the agreements. You know, it's an agreement based organization in a lot of ways. And so the people in it decide on the agreements, and then, you know, everybody then plays by those agreements. And then if it wants to be changed, then it can be changed. And so the decentralized manner, you know, of that happening is, you know, that everyone has a voice, and, you know, everyone is either, you know, there's different ways to facilitate it. Everyone's either an owner, or everybody is, you know, has, you know, like it's contributor owned. So those who are doing the work are the ones who receive the benefit of it. So, yeah, I don't know if that's, you know, I don't know if that helps, but I think, yeah, the idea, you know, is to be able to facilitate organizational structure in a decentralized manner. So, you know, an example is like, right, we know social media, we know Facebook is centralized. So, you know, now there's, you know, decentralized social media platforms that are coming in where they're not owned by a central, you know, authority where all of the resources get funneled to. You know, those, you know, people contribute, and then people, you know, decide to pay other people for, you know, what they're contributing. And so that's, you know, that's a DAO. And I think that the reason that, you know, when it was creating like Holistic Systems Cooperative, it was always created to be like a worker-owned cooperative. And then I discovered DAOs and, you know, in Web3 and tokenomics. And I was like, wow, this is like what I was, you know, sort of envisioning the whole time. You know, because, you know, it's just, it's a way to, I think, facilitate complexity, and the level of complexity that it would be difficult for organizations like us to facilitate using conventional methods, right? So holistic systems, the idea is that, you know, there's a lot of different people who are contributing and sharing value of different kinds. You know, there's a lot of people who can pop in and pop out. And if we had to have like, you know, legal contracts, and lawyers and with every single person for every single, interaction, that's seems a little undoable. But if we're tokenizing everything and using, the digital methods to do that, becomes possible. So, I'll end there, and I'll end with, the idea. I think that, this base sort of way that holistic systems is working on, these problems that we're talking about, is to say, how do we support ourselves in the here and now, while we're working on co-creating this, holistic, design, in these different realms, that are all connected. And supporting ourselves as, people who have, businesses or ventures, or who are helpers, healers, and visionaries, and supporting ourselves and people who have, skill sets, to provide. Because I think that's a conundrum that I've been seeing over and over again, which is like, okay, well, we want to do all this stuff, but, we're still in this current capitalist system. And so there's a way where, okay, I still have to support myself and feed myself within that system while transitioning to and creating a new model. So all that, I'll stop there.
Do you have a way of doing that already? Have you figured that part out?
Yes, that's the most exciting part. Is
okay, that's what I need to hear.
Yeah, and I can show you. But yeah, the way to do that is that other people have already, created that platform, and so we're working. So I found, what I came to, where I discovered Web3 and all of this, was through Seeds, the Seeds ecosystem, and Haifa, who is building the DAO platform, because right, it's and that is this collaborative idea, because for each of us to create these things on our own, right, that's like siloing each other off, and it makes things very difficult. But if I come here and Haifa's like, yeah, we've been working on this and we've got the DAO platform, and it's the goal is for it to be regenerative, and for people to be using it and work in this shared ecosystem. And Seeds is working on creating an alternate currency, and then there's other DAOs who are fulfilling different roles in this ecosystem. So I don't know, I mean, I could show you a couple of things on I could share my screen and show you, if that might be helpful. Sometimes there's a couple of visual things that help.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, let me do that.
And while you're getting that set up, Rob, Carol, have you, Carol?
Yep.
Have
Carell?
you, Carell?
Corral or Carol,
Corral.
I answer to both.
Oh, okay. Have you come across this, Rob, while you're getting ready, I'll just vamp for a moment. Have you come across the, that issue, that of organizing and for instance, the payment or figuring out contribution, or having to deal with a shared resource in your work?
Well, just the usual way. I mean, I have my own business as well outside of the UFHD.
Yeah.
To do my healing work. But it's using the conventional way. Not in this environment where you're using tokens and
right,
basically another system to help facilitate for movement to move forward. I still, in my own brain, I'm glad Rob said there's this transition between the old way and the new way, and that's the part I have trying to understand how that would work.
And if I could just interject, as far as sharing resources, right now it's all on a voluntary basis. So
Yeah.
if we were going to monetize or try to, move it forward, then that would be a stumbling block because we don't actually know how we would do that exchange or how that should be looked at, I guess.
Yeah.
Because right now we're all here for the love.
Oh, Natalie might have some input to that.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to also say, was that UFHD is small enough that the majority of the resources that have been, like, there's been some fundraising projects and things, but that money kind of went directly to Carell, who's been kind of managing a lot of the admin pieces and the Zoom accounts and stuff like that. But as we get larger and more integrated with, like what Eli was saying, some of the market systems, and have more people from different languages and different places entering into wanting to contribute. To add on to what Rob said about a DAO, in its most simple form, when you remove the community that surrounds it, it is a digital tool that documents the coming and going of money, treasury, as well as it can also document the voice, so the vote and the what members are contributing and participating when and where. So it's like a way of documenting these things that are traceable, and it's kind of like can be a hub where decisions, voting, money, and listing proposals. So it can be a place for innovation to kind of poke its head out if it's used properly. Then when you add the community over top, that's where there's many more layers that can make it a lot more complex.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Natalie. That's great. And just to say, like, these tools are here, they're in place, they're also in creation. So I don't want to at all give you the impression that this is all like up and running and just fluidly cranking away. We're the DAO platform, I can show you, it's still in the alpha phase, and beta is coming soon. And so we're really co-creating this now. And I also want to say, it's like, I think what you were speaking to, as far as as far as like what are our funding resources now, and how are people supporting themselves, and so how do we kind of get this up off the ground. I think that's the trick. That's where we're at now, is because the idea is that if enough people are coming in, then you create this kind of community of scale, or this economy of scale. So there's there's enough stability and support, enough different people providing enough different kinds of services and value exchange, that there's just enough flowing around the ecosystem. And yeah, that that's the trick, and that's something that we're in now. So I was just reading the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so, I mean, it's a beautiful human thing, even though we're connected by an internet and, all these wires and, layers of kind of weird stuff, who God knows what is connecting us all. But as I was going through getting ready for the meeting, I was like, oh yeah, this is really what I want to be explained to me. Like, because this is the interface for the DAO. Like, if you ask, like, what is HAL 9000, and you see a little red dot in a little glowing glass bubble, That's what that's what HAL is. But HAL is so much more than that. This is the dashboard for the DAO. And so, yeah, Rob, if you could take us through this and sort of explain it. And this may get to like the very practicalness of what is a DAO.
Yeah. So I'll go. So that was, Holistic Systems Cooperative. I'll just sort of try and share. I think it's easier to share in Haifa because, Haifa is a lot more operational now. And so basically this is just, it's an interface, and really what it is, it's, blockchain. I mean, really you could think about it as like a digital ledger. So, that is like, it's trustless in the way that, it doesn't, require like a centralized authority to manage it that you have to trust. It's just when something's on the blockchain, it's on the blockchain, and it's not, changeable. So, right. So there's, so really it's, you have, the organization. And so the idea is that this is, going to get, more and more can be managed just through the DAO platform, including treasury and payments. But, that's not quite there yet. But what you have, is, like the roles, like, you start with like these role archetypes. I know there's some bugs. So, archetypes, I'm gonna not start here. I'm gonna start here at Nestor. I think this is easier. All right. So this is Holistic Systems Cooperative. I think it'll be easier to see the DAO platform. So this is Holistic Systems Cooperative, the organizational structure. So this is like what a decentralized, nested circle organizational structure looks like. So, this might be called, internal operations, but this is like the DAO, and in each of these circles is a role. So, this is a role, and this role has, certain, it has, certain accountabilities. This is a role, and this is, so this is the DAO, the DAO operations. This is what might be conventionally called like marketing. So there's certain roles, in marketing. This is might be, called, content, product, creation, design. This is, an operations and, admin role. This is, digital platform technology. So the idea is that there's not one central authority that's like, governing and managing this. And these roles can be, self-managing, and also, the circles can be self-managing, while they are connected to the other circles. And you can have an anchor circle, people who are core contributors who are guiding it, so it's not that there's, like no sort of, like centralization, but the base idea is that it's, it is, centralized, decentralized, and, so decision like there's decisions that this circle just makes for itself. And then that has to do with also, okay, what are the budgets that each circle get? And, and so it's all transparent as well. As far as like what people are getting paid, the money that's being, funneled through here. The other aspect of this that I think is, relevant is that in this structure, like the roles don't belong to a person. So these aren't conventional jobs. So like, like there's not, one person doesn't get hired as the event management person and they're in that job. Essentially, that multiple people can fill one role, and one person can fill multiple roles. So there can, ideally we want like 10 different people who can fill that event management role. And then, that creates the ability to then, be able to operationalize a big sort of need that might come through for that. And at the same time, I might, be able to fill that role, but I also want to do some funding and networking, so I can fill that role, and I can fill, analytics. It also allows, part of what we're doing is also allowing for people to, find where they, like more and more find like where they want to be doing the work in the world that they love and that they're passionate about. So, but yeah, staying with more of the operational side. So I wanted to show you that, and with so those roles, then, how do we facilitate people getting, where did that go? How do we facilitate then people coming into those roles? And so that's what this DAO platform, is for. So, okay, here's a smart contract engineer. So, what we could do is just, if the DAO needed a smart contract engineer, then they put up this proposal, and then anybody could come and try and, claim that role, or somebody could put up a proposal to, for that role and say, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and that. And then they decide on what the compensation is, how much is in, money, how much is in, the HIFA token. And then, how that person then gets put into the role is, there's a vote. So you can see that, on April 1st, there was a 12.75% quorum, and 100% of the people voted for this person to become the smart contract engineer. And so, in that way, it sort of is facilitating these things, but in this decentralized manner. And so this is who, you become a member of the DAO community, and people, can weigh in on that and vote on that. There's different, again, the payouts, there's assignments, people have badges. So somebody, earns a badge to be, the enroller, and they're entrusted, to that. You can also, so there's roles, and there's like, assignments. So an assignment is more like a project, with a beginning and an end. And so more and more, this is able to get facilitated through this DAO platform as it, goes into its newer versions. But I think that also seeing what it's facilitating, can be helpful. So, I know, I guarantee there are people who can explain this better than than myself, but right now, I think, me is who we've got. So, any questions or thoughts or comments there?
Rob, there's a HIFA video that shows how the HIFA platform works real well. That shows how, the HIFA organizes the DAOs. If you can show that, that would be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, and I can send that to everybody. This is like their website, so it's going to show, this might, it's just going to show it in a little bit of a easier way. You have like the token, that's a method of value exchange. Right, like you said, you manage their roles. There's how much people get paid. There's ways where you assign a particular salary to a particular role, and then whoever is filling that's like the salary that they're receiving.
Actual money?
Well, that's what you decide. So so it can be, there's the, let me see if I can, find that. But yeah, it's actual. So really, there's a way where, that's customizable governance. I don't know. I can share all of this with you. But there is a way here. Let me just find it on the DAO here. Let me see. So if I want to,
If you go to hi-fi.earth, you're looking for the video?
no, I think I'll send them the video afterwards, you know, and they can watch that. That way we have, you know, make sure we have time for you know, discussion. Sorry, let me see. All right, I'm just going to do like a test here. So what it is that so if like we say, okay, this is $1,000, then there's a choice to decide how much of that is going to be deferred into the utility token. So you know, in this sense, the utility, you know, the idea is that the utility token is what is used to pay for services.
Right.
There's the whole, you know, sort of tokenomics aspect, you know, which you know is saying that, you know, that this utility token you're deferring it, but it's going to have you know, like it's going to raise in value as we go along. You know, that is you know, I love the idea and the promise of that. You know, that's also not something, you know, we want to hang our hats on now. But basically you just decide, okay, well, I want to do this job, and you know, I'll take, you know, 80%, you know, deferment. So I'm going to earn $200 in cash, and then $200 in, or $800 in the co-op token, and that also gives me 1,000 tokens in voice.
Oh, okay,
This
gotcha.
isn't, yeah. You know, this isn't the only way to, you know, facilitate, you know, value exchange, but you know, it's, you know, it's what sort of HIFA and Seeds have been, you know, working on for a long time. And
Right.
you know, and definitely there's a reason why, you know, gotten that I, you know, chose that particular platform, and why we're in this ecosystem is because of the shared values. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Explains
you're
it better
welcome.
for me. I was trying to understand. I'm an accountant by trade years ago, still do it. So my accounting brain hat is on, and I'm trying to figure out how this works. So that was perfect. Thank you.
Right. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad. Yeah, it's, you know, it's a lot, you know, kind of to, I think there's a learning curve, you know, for everybody, you know, in that technology and that structure. There certainly has been for me. You know, and I think that, you know, in the end, those are, you know, these are tools, and you know, it's how we use them, you know, that's going to determine, you know, their benefit or not.
And
Yeah.
then I think the tool, you know, it is a tool, and how does one learn to use a tool? It's kind of like a musical instrument, you know. You like hear an incredible saxophone solo, and you're like, I want to do that. I want to play the saxophone like that. I heard it. It sounds awesome. And they're like, oh, great. Here's a saxophone. And you pick that up. And I'm telling you, the first time you blow into a saxophone is not what you expect. You know, it sounds horrible. It's really kind of, you know, it can be really, so the idea is figuring out and building as you go, like what are the basic steps, you know, what are the very foundational things. And I think that our mindset that we really explained so well during the check-in, like that value of cooperation and collaboration and working in concert and natural systems, along with the no longer serving economic models that are going on, which we, you know, so there is an avenue. These are our new tools that do get us out of that. And then really it's like what are those first foundational steps, and will it get us into a better place? Yeah, that's what I'm sort of looking for. It's like, that's what I'm like, oh, will this help with contribution? Will this help with equity and equality? Will it help with what's traditionally unpaid work like caregiving and healing and those type of things? like, let's see, like curious, like, let's work it out. Let's not just rebuild what we had before, but let's like really test it out and really own, really own it, like really embrace it, I guess is a better way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, Carell, you know what popped in, you know, when you were sharing what you know, the different ventures you have in your life, you know, it was a kind of like a practical, what might be a practical example of this, you know, of how to, you know, not only how to use the DAO, but also, you know, part of this kind of value exchange that we're trying to create with holistic systems is you're saying that you have, you know, you're an accountant, right? So you have accountant skills, and you're also you know, a healer. So you have those skills. And I think you said something else, right? So, you know, in this, like in this DAO ecosystem here, you know, and then you have, you know, it's, the question is like, you know, are you a client or are you a services provider? You know, and what we're saying is like, there's not a hard line there, because you're also saying, okay, well, I'm, you know, I'm in this organization that could use, you know, use some help with, you know, setting up, you know, some kind of system or structure or something like that, you know, maybe from a technical or logistical standpoint. So, you know, there's value, multiple types of value that you have to offer, and then there's, you know, specific, you know, needs that you have. So then how can, you know, who is then available to, you know, to maybe help out, you know, UFHD with, you know, in some technical or logistical aspects. And if you don't have, you know, if you have a limited budget right now, you know, then what other, then could you come in and then help, maybe probably not that person, but somebody else who needs accounting or bookkeeping help. And if you get enough of those connections going, that's the idea, then you have this ecosystem that can, you know, support each other, meeting needs, while there might not be, you know, like lots and lots of money as of yet.
Right. Got it.
So kind of like a trade and barter system.
Yeah, it's kind of like trade and barter system in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of like a trade and barter system. Exactly. And, you know, and I love those systems, and I have, at least for me, I've seen them, it's difficult for them to catch and grow.
Yeah.
And I think that if, you know, that's part of the idea here, is how do we, is can these tools, you know, allow those to, you know, those trade and barter systems to be, you know, facilitated, you know, with the end goal. Really, the end goal is not even to like have for me, the end goal, the end vision isn't even to have like a currency, you know, it's to have, you know, localities that are just using, you know, that kind of gift economy.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So-
was
How
one
do
of
we
the
get,
visions.
how do we get here from here to there? Yeah, this is the question.
Definitely one of the visions. I mean, I offer donational services for those who are in lower budget systems, just so that they can have access, right? So, and then there's other people, they have the money, so then they pay for the services, right? So, yeah, I like that. That's amazing. Sometimes what gets tricky in amongst that is your time is value. And so time is one thing you can't get back, but balancing your personal time with, you know, what you're putting out too. And I guess each person has to be responsible for that part, but that's still something that has to be considered.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what is, you know, what is each person's time worth, and what is, you know, in what realm, and in what, you know, functioning in what skill set, you know, and these are like, I think that's a lot of like the conversation, and what, you know, what we are all, you know, sort of working to, you know, to ask, and also be thinking about, you know, things in new ways, you know. So one of the things that we're thinking about is going away from this, like the you know, paradigm of like selling my time, or selling my you know, labor, my so I'm going to sell my time to you.
Yeah.
You know, rather like, yeah, you know, rather, you know, a paradigm of like, you know, I'm going to like fulfill this role or fulfill this project, you know, and and you know, it's up to me, as long as I am able to, you know, fulfill that, then it's up to me how I want, you know, how I want to do it and how much time I spend. And then also in this, you know, with this DAO structure, it's about, you know, it's user owned and contributor owned. So it isn't about I'm selling my time to you, but then after I spend my time, I'm walking away with nothing other than you know, that money you gave me. You know, it's basically like everybody is an investor, and people can invest with money or people can invest with time, but everybody is getting back, you know, the part of, you know, that sort of co-ownership, and governance, no matter in what way they're investing.
And if I could just interject here, I've heard systems, a system is described as something, you know, the sum is greater than the parts, meaning, well, a couple of different meanings, but it's sort of like what you put in, you get more out. I've heard the system described as that. It was actually a real shady guy that, like, he kind of sneered and kind of like did like a thing when he said that. It's like you get out more than you put in. And I was like, is that a system? Does that fit with my sense of a system? But there is something, I do believe that a system does something that all of the parts alone can't do. That sort of trucks, that I can get fully behind. So that's what, yeah.
For sure.
So my question, or the sort of the idea around that is, how can we make an economic system that doesn't, I mean, you know, spread the wealth, or I like to think of the pachinko ball, that instead of just like all of the time that I trade in a typical, what we call fiat mining in this sort of Web3 world, where you just go into the mine and you work and then they give you some, you know, but I'm actually doing something that is, you know, edifying, maybe in Eli's, you know, personal, interpersonal, and societal, like on all those levels, it's convergent and helpful, as opposed to like, well, I do this thing, it's not really great for me, it hurts my body, but it's really good for society, or, you know, like there's a systems effect, and it works on all the different levels. That's sort of what I'm looking for, what I'm going for. The idea that I'm investing my time, and I'm investing it in myself, and that investment also pays dividends to my communities, but I never lose the selfiness. Now that's kind of weird in thinking about like the kind of non-self, like, but I there's that autonomous, like I'm my own agent, like I'm not giving up my agency.
Right.
Yeah, something in there is a thought.
That was really beautiful to hear. It's just so much synergy going on here, and I think what we label it, as Buckminster Fuller would say, is when there's synergy in a system, this is when it becomes more than the sum of its parts.
I always thought that synergy was like a marketing word, because I think I heard it on a commercial in the 80s, like for like a sportswear company or something, and I was like, synergy. It's like a cartoon or something, and I was like, it's a cartoon word. And then I'm like, no, actually, it's a Buckminster Fuller word. It's like a real word.
Yeah, and you find this studying what we call CDEs, complex dynamic ecosystems. You see this all over the place, that through immense amounts of interactions and connections, you start to see whole other flows of energy start to arise. So it's almost like as a very strange analogy, but the first thing that came to my head is it's almost like, well, no, here's a better one. When the forest all starts to connect for the canopy, and then you have a highway for the monkeys. It's created a whole other thing, the super highway that all these animals can travel on, but it took immense amounts of biodiversity and time and all of this to come together, and whole other flows of energy are created.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. Like, it makes me kind of think, as like, oh, what canopy are we building? I also think of biochar, like like you create this matrix for other systems. It's always explained to me like an apartment building for your soil biome with this biochar. It's like you're making an apartment building, so we're burning the wood. It's like, well, actually, it transforms into something, something else. Yeah, the transformational nature and the evolution, would that be evolutionary or movement towards? Yeah.
Evolutionary transformation.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I wanted to share that these are principles that that I recognize in the new existential framework that I'm bringing forth, and the way I describe it is that things begin to emerge in different places, and when you begin to bring what it's emerging into the same context, then you create alignment, and that is that alignment of different things emerging that produces the synergy and into converging in a whole new thing. So in the example of us here, think of what you are doing as the principles of holistic design as something that is emerging, and then think about the holistic systems cooperative as something that is emerging to organize how people work. This is to heal the system. So when you bring it into the same context, you begin to create synergies. So what is possible by you and us coming together is more. That's the synergy. So we all benefit just from that. And we are capable, we enhance our mutual capabilities to be able to bring into the world more of what we have. And that's one of the biggest distinctions into what we are realizing, but by becoming more than one doing. First, we're becoming the people who are embodying this new way of working together, this new way of coming together. And what we're finding here is that rather than coming together to create something that people might need, we're coming together for ourselves to find places where we can bring in what we already have. And that's a complete shift in the dynamics of economics. So by coming together in this new way and using tools like the HIFA to organize ourselves as a DAO rather than a corporation, we are becoming the context that brings into alignment all that wants to emerge, that is conducive to the evolution of humanity from extractive economy to a regenerative economy. And that's the beauty that we feel in our conversations, even when we don't even have the language to reference this concept, because it is, again, it's emerging. But we recognize in what we're saying, aha, I like that, I like that, I like that. And as we begin to have these conversations, then we allow for a new kind of light to emerge from within all of us that enlightens all of us and transforms all of us into becoming that new civilization.
Well
But how,
said.
okay, all right. So you've blown it up enough. Like, I'm inspired. Like, I'm energized. Like, the synergy has hit me and become energy. Now, like, where do I start pedaling the bicycle? Like, where do I put pen to the paper? Like, that's kind of, yeah.
Right. Because that's, okay. I get so excited that my camera goes start doing that. Well,
Your
yeah,
computer
so now
decided
that that's the practical part of it, right? So, what's the difference between a monk before enlightenment and after enlightenment? The monk before enlightenment chopped woods and carry water, and after enlightenment chops woods and carry water in harmony. So that this is what we begin to do here, is that we are beginning to come together to do work that we love to do, that is purpose-driven work. And still then also what we are doing by using tools as HIFA, and the idea of currency is that we are breaking through the need to have money to make money. In other words, we are coming together and we begin to bring forth our potential and begin to account for that with a complementary currency. And this is what enables us to move into a new space together, so then we can bring products and services into the world that are going to deliver benefits for which people are going to pay for. And then imagine that we're building a catalog of holistic design products and services. So anybody who is into the holistic design comes together, and we build this catalog by all of us, that we can then globally create a huge catalog of all these products and services, and then we can organize how we commercialize them regionally and capitalize them locally or personally. And this is a whole new way of organizing that is decentralized, that is autonomous, like what the DAO is. So this is a new way to self-organize the way we work. And it's, again, not about achieving the traditional economic goals, which is to provide products for what people need, but to provide opportunities and roles for people to bring forth the potential that we already have. So that's the complete shift into how we're doing what we're doing.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jeff. I always, yeah. I just love collaboration, because there's certain ways that I can think about things and explain things, and, and then there's ways that other people do. And the fullness of, what we're doing here, I think only gets expressed, by multiple expressions.
I had the benefit of hearing you to rearrange my thoughts, and then
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to. So I see it's 4:30. Usually we go a couple hours, which means there's like a half hour left. I mean, I can always go longer, but I do want to check in on time there, because I and see where we want to go from here. I mean, we can continue to kind of discuss what it is that we're doing, and then have everybody kind of think about it, sleep on it, process through. There's also a way where we could, if there's more specifics that we want to discuss, we could do that. I mean, what's coming to me is really like, I'm just curious, like, okay, well, what are everybody's needs, because that's, if somebody's, sort of in that way, if somebody's coming, it's like, what the first things we ask, is, okay, what are what are your needs? What are your skill sets? What are the things you love to do? What do you want to do? And then how can we, collaborate on, facilitate, on meeting those shared needs. And, there's not always like an immediate answer, but, I think that's the curiosity that starts with me. So yeah, what do people think? Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, and I will go further. Specifically, that reinculturation program that you have, if we were to focus on that, is there anything that you're lacking at this moment in order to be able to bring into the world and scale it? And what would that be? And let's figure out how we can then come together to address those lacks and to provide the resources to bring that, to co-realize that offering. That would be a suggestion.
Yeah, that's a beautiful suggestion. We had focused a lot of most of the effort of our foundation for a number of years in that area. And so many people, after they came through, really wanted to build these holistic designs together. One specifically that we call the 80-20 system that I alluded to a few times during this meeting. And because we're a small group, we can't focus in all the different areas at the same time. So what ended up happening is we had to stop that process for a while and come down here and actually start putting things together on the ground here. A lot of our focus has been really very in line with what Newman was saying was, each organ, we have a very similar system to the DAO that we've been using for years and talking about and sharing, called the body model of organization. So it's based on the organ system of the body and how this system is organized. So each autonomous part, and what we mean by that is not that it's separate, that it runs itself. So very similar to the circles that we were shown there, where each organ has its own functions to run, but anything that, any decision making that deals with any other organs, this then is brought to the others and all of this sort of stuff. Without going into too much detail into that, what we've been focusing on is actually building on the ground here. So we have all the people on the ground interested, all the tribes. We have groups of mamos that are wanting to work with this. We have farmers. We have a cooperative already working with us, a cacao cooperative that is 51% from the Weewa tribe. I'm not sure how much you know about this region, but anyway, it's ready to go. What we don't have is funding. Our area of expertise is in holistic design. It is in other areas, in healing and understanding self, not in fundraising. And we're so busy in so many areas. So I would say that's one of our number one areas that is required. And we've had the same conversation for years now. And certain things, I guess, needed to be in place and all of that. And now, whether it is or isn't, the need is very obvious that we have some of the salve or some of the medicine that is required in many areas to stop deforestation, to revamp our farming systems. As well, the whole reason that we're in touch with Seeds a number of years ago was because we have a whole area to restructure the monetary system. And again, just like all of our systems, they're bridge programs to take us to where we want to get to, not the end result. And so that's a conversation we should have another day. It's a whole big area. But a lot of these things, they require physical things on the ground to be set up. And so it came to the point where all these people wanted to do something, but were sort of like stuck in spots. And until we have the land, until we have certain things that we can anchor these projects to and actually as well have goods moving, we entered into sort of loops of conversation, lots of wise people coming, lots of understanding of the issues that need to be dealt with, and a lot of good recipes for healing. And that was like 3 years of talking. It was sort of like, enough, it's time to work. We got the right people here. they are here. We're all seeing the same blueprints. We're all hearing the same call. We're interpreting them different, which is beautiful. We want that diversity. We need that diversity, but to move forward. So yes, to the reinculturation. My understanding of all the systems that we're sharing and bringing and working on, none of this works without the reinculturation. Now, the reinculturation process is only one way of doing it. There's, we've just given a name to something that once people go through, people can bring it back to their communities and do themselves. It'll always be different, but that's the beauty of it. It's more about engaging in that process and actually giving it the focus and attention and keeping our consciousness directed in that area. And of course, energy flows.
That reinculturation program that you have, oh my God. Okay, that you have, is it ready to be delivered? And imagine a program of train the trainers, so that this could become a program that could be taught to other peoples in other regions, where they can then go and deliver it to other projects who might have the potential to get in the land. That's on one side. But on the other side, Rob, this is the kind of opportunity that brings us for having talked this conversation with them. Then we can go and look at the ecosystem, the seeds ecosystem, and see if we have the resources to identify somebody in Colombia is where I think you are. Somebody in Colombia, some of the communities, some of the seeds community, somebody from the seeds the Seeds Alliance, some kind of community that will have the land, who could benefit from this program. And this is the kind of service that we're talking about, being brokers of these kinds of connections within the ecosystem, right? So that's what these conversations are, exploratory conversations, to co-realize what emerges as possibilities, well, as opportunities.
And it's not just Colombia, it's here in Canada too. So we have this grassroots that we need to express and share the 80-20 system here. We don't have anything started here, really. There are lots of people doing permaculture and regenerative kind of things, but there's nothing in that formal arena. So we really, really need to start it here in Canada.
Right, and however it starts, what I'm saying is that we might be able to reach many communities that are part of the seeds ecosystem and gather representatives of this community to come together, and each of them contribute a little something to build the program that then is going to be distributed through them. And again, this is the core realization of value that we're talking about, right? So imagine let's say you want to deliver the program to 10 different communities. Well, let's gather somebody representative of each of this community and have the community fund the participation of this person to come and build the co-creation of the program itself, that then they can go take to their communities, and they're going to teach the communities. And that's a way that we begin to actually deliver the capacitation, the education as part of the program itself, hence the co-realization, right? The global co-realization. And it can begin with 10, and then it can scale to 100, and then to 1,000.
Yeah, beautifully stated. We're on the same path, same vision there. This is exactly what we had brought together. We had run 3 rounds of it. So it was going for 1.5 years or 2 years, I can't remember. And actually speaking with Reiki, maybe a year and a bit ago, he had asked me can I run this through the seed system? And it just so happened at that time, I was going through another level of deep reinculturation myself. So it was not the time then to be doing that. But interesting that this is coming up again, because that was also the first one when we were talking all about our systems. That was the one thing he really gravitated towards as well.
Right, and in that relationship, then a way to seeing how we continue our relationship, we could be the facilitator of bringing your operation into the DAO system, as we, we help other DAOs establish and get operationally. And so again, this is just co-creating opportunities as we begin to discover the possibilities.
So what's the first step? What's the very, very first step?
This is it. We're taking. What's the next step?
You're soaking in it. You're soaking in it. You know that old commercial where they're like, "Oh, how do you, like their hands are in the dishwashing liquid." It's like, "Oh, you're already doing it. You're already doing it."
I realize that, but then there's a step after this step. So
that's true. That's true.
Second step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next step.
The next step. Well, I mean, I can speak to that, but Jeff, you have been leading this portion of the conversation. I'd love to hear.
The next step is to understand if we're going to talk about that program, what does that program entail? What is the benefit? Who are the beneficiaries, right? And then to look into what are the costs of, where are we going to take it, and what would it cost? And then, then speak with somebody like Reiki and say, hey, we have this, we need to identify 10 communities and speak with them and then have the conversation and then coordinate that. And in in that specifically, well, then I'll step in and I'll look into what is the program and try to figure out those answers that I just have questions for, and then bring it to the team here and says, well, this is where we are. And then just, some of you also begin to participate with us as we begin to collaborate in that way.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing is, as far as needs, there's really there's the need for, funding like the specific project that's happening in Colombia. And then there's, a need for, more just kind of general funding to continue the, forward movement of the organization. And then, also hearing, okay, well, there's also this, there's this service or knowledge or expertise that you have that you can provide. There's this program that you've been working on, that you've been, creating and refining, and that can have value to, other organizations that, or groups or, that are wanting to, do something in this manner.
Right.
Does that sound like a?
Yes. Yes, and I would agree. Yeah, there's funding for the 80/20 project in Colombia, and then there's general funding that we need, and then also a way to get us out there in a marketing style scenario, because that's one of our challenges, is that we just don't have the volume of time, the expertise in some areas to get that out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other
I see.
challenge. It kind of gets a stalemate to some degree.
Well,
Yeah.
we know how to get it out there. We don't have the people following us.
Yeah, the depth of, we can put stuff together, but it just,
The audience.
the audience isn't there.
Right.
Yeah, Carell, do you mind if
So-
I make a comment on that?
Sorry, really quickly though,
Please.
but that's not the issue with the reinculturation. That fills up every time. That's
No, that's true.
the opposite. But
It's-
sorry, Mal, continue.
But that's
Yeah,
true for
sure.
everyone.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I was just thinking, the best marketing is to be out in your community in whatever way. And the best way to do that is to go out with humility and be available for your community. If you see something that needs to be done and you're the only one seeing it, then you should probably be doing it, as Bill Mollison would say.
That's a good
But
point.
yeah, I mean, marketing, I find marketing a bit distasteful if it is convincing people to want something that they don't need. If that's the definition of marketing, then I find it quite distasteful.
I as well.
Maybe using that word just ruins it, but yeah, I don't know. I find
Okay, I'll
that
give you.
Is
Okay,
that a
let's
better
shift the.
word?
Go ahead.
Exposure?
And purposing. And
Yes,
purposing people from local communities to come in and take the program to take back.
Right. There, I just want to add to that that a lot of times where it gets stalemate is we discover that there's pieces missing that need to be in place. And I'm just generalizing here. Need to be in place before we can move forward. And this has always been a hang up. We have no problem showing up for purpose, but then there's always some kind of logistical thing that pops in, like we don't have the right packaging, or we don't have the right place, or we need to cover our ass for this, or we need to cover our ass for that. So these things show up, and then we have a stalemate. We stop, and then we lose momentum. So that's one of the problems. So some of it is because some of us aren't trained in those areas to know, is it okay to move in that direction or not? That's some of the issue.
All
Yeah.
right, that's what happens when you are one team working. Now imagine 10 teams working.
Yeah.
The solution to overcome an obstacle can come from any one of those teams, and it's then replicated by all of them. This is what I call wealth replication.
I might also say that there's a bit of a construct where we're going out doing what we want to do, but we get stuck in the systems of the modern day, and in that paradigm is where we want to shift. So we fall into those holes of that system that we don't want to be part of, but we don't know how to navigate around it or in another way. And so we see someone like Seeds, then we expect, or we know that you've been looking into other ways to do that we would like to share, instead of, creating the new path instead of going down the old worn out one that we know is broken and doesn't work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And why do we want
Yeah. That's beautiful. And that's, like that right there is the conundrum, that I sit in every day, I mean, that's the conundrum that I walk around in, in the world, which is like, how do we get these things going? How do we create these things that we know that are coming from us that we want, in the here and now, in this present moment, while not then reinforcing, the systems that we're working to dismantle. It's it's just it's a conundrum, and it's a question, and I think there's definitely not like the right or wrong answer. I think it's continuing process, and a process of playing in both. Like, I love what what Maui said, about marketing being distasteful. That's a kind word almost, sometimes for me, distasteful. I mean, I'm doing, digital marketing and social media. I'm in these realms, and there's so much I don't like about them. And so it's this question of, okay, well, what is necessary, to do now? How much am I dipping into the current system?
Yeah.
you know, so it's like, you know, not, you know, not being, you know, so, you know, like set against it that we end up, you know, whatever, you know, cutting off our nose to spite our face, but also, you know, making sure that we're not then slipping, you know, into it in a way where we're just, you know, reinforcing those
Exactly.
systems. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so we might call it, the term that we might be familiar with is marketing. And for all intents and purposes, we could change the word, but we are still operating under the same processes. So, you know, that's the formula that we want to change. So marketing really just, you know, in our sense, just means getting the word out there.
Yeah.
It can mean pushing
Yeah.
a product and a concept, which is kind of also what we're doing. So it is a slippery slope, and I think there is a transitionary phase, but we don't want to just rebrand and rename the same thing.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
It's about
Yeah.
doing it differently and figuring out what that is.
Yeah.
yeah. I think that if you're, you know, I mean, I think, right, you know, you know, try and sort of create the different paradigms, you know, and call it, you know, outreach, you know, yeah, broadening, expanding your reach. I think, you know, the basis of that is like, it, you know, where it's coming from is what, you know, what is the energy behind what you're doing? You know, and if the energy behind it is, this is coming from our heart, this is, you know, what I want to say, I'm not, the energy isn't trying to convince somebody, you know, I mean, you know, like I want to talk to everybody about what I'm doing, but I don't want to convince anybody to
That's right.
do it. I just want to share because, you know, I love it. And I, you know, and so when I'm acting in that energy, you know, then I feel okay. I feel in alignment. And yeah, you know, and then it's just like, okay, what systems, what channels do I have to use now, you know, in order to put that message out, while we're also saying, okay, what other channels can we also start to, you know, use for outreach that can take us, you know, that are, you know, new systems.
Yes.
You know what? You hit it right on the head. It's intention.
Yes.
Doesn't matter the word that we use, it matters the intention and the energy behind that.
Exactly.
So thank you
Because-
for saying that.
Well, because when I changed my intention last year about what I'm doing, I'm not in the mood at all to convince anybody of anything or to manipulate or coerce, nothing. It's like, here it is. If that
Resonate with it.
resonates with you and you're called, then I welcome you. And that's the intent I put out there now, because I tried doing those other things and they do not fit. They do not fit with me, for sure.
Yeah.
When I'm doing my authentic work from my, you know, coming from my authentic self, that works.
Absolutely. Yeah, that works. That works. And that's really truly what works. You know, I think for, you know, on that, yeah, that's really what works, because it's got to come from there, especially with what we're doing, you know, and yeah, because it's, you know, these marketing, you know, strategies and tactics, you know, they can get, you know, quite, you know, sophisticated, and then they can, you know, but the sophistication can be used, you know, in these positive ways, but it also, you know, as we know, you know, most of it is, I would say, you know, manipulative and coercive.
It is.
It is. It just is. And, you know, the more you look at, study it, the more it's like, God, you know, it's just, you know, there's so much of that that's really, you know, consciously trying to be manipulative and coercive.
Right.
You know, I won't get into a whole rant on that, but but yeah, you know, in that sense, we're staying true to the intention and the energy of what you're doing. And that's also, I think, what we're trying to do is, you know, not only in just like the marketing, but in the whole organizational structure, in the intention of everybody behind it. You know, as we're saying, well, we can't like snap our fingers and, you know, make capitalism go away today, but we can be operating today, you know, in this model, you know, or this co-realizer model of what we want to see in the world.
Right. Okay.
So, and it's, you know, and right, the, you know, as far as the brass tacks, right, it's tricky. You know, I mean, again, this is like the place that I think, you know, we're both finding ourselves in, you know, which is, okay, well, you know, like, and I love it. I feel like we're getting, you know, more clear on the specific needs, right? You know, of UFHD. And then, you know, we're saying, oh, okay, well, you know, what we have here, you know, holistic systems, we have, you know, some services, you know, things that we can offer that can help meet these needs. Right. And then there's the tricky part, which is like, okay, well, how do we, you know, like, you know, how do we, you know, like what is the value exchange, you know, in the energy exchange, and how much, you know, like actual fiat money does myself or Newman, you know, or Jeff, you know, need to, you know, be able to do this. And those are, you know, I don't know, those are these like conversations that I really appreciate having,
Yeah.
and they're difficult. I don't know how to, you know, I honestly, I don't ever want to charge anybody for anything, but
Well, here's where we need to bring in the tokenomics and the currencies to be able to use that as a way of moving into a way to account for the investment that we need to do before we get the money, before we get the returns from the sales of whatever we're doing together. So we get the accounting through the currencies. And that's part of also, you know, what is going to be facilitated through the DAO. So once we figure that out, yeah.
I was wondering if, for now, or as an experiment between all of us who are here today, if we could consider just trading time as a practice, because that would always be, I mean, that would be something you could do on the ground, person to person at all times, which I feel it's important to have an analog system of exchange, as the other one requires electricity, and that is not a guarantee. So yeah, I was wondering, I mean, I know there are systems that people use where they exchange hours, and then, you know, what is the value of one person's hour to another? If everyone's working in their area of expertise, then it should be one-to-one. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that into the conversation.
Thank you so much. I think, you know, I think what, you know, what I'm, you know, hearing there, and, you know, for me, just to point out is that like all of the, you know, the DAOs and the tokenomics and the blockchain, you know, again, is like, you know, it's like one methodology. And I certainly don't think it's, you know, better than, you know, any other, you know, kind of methodology. It's, you know, for me, it's really like, okay, finding what works, you know, within the larger framework of how we want to exchange value. You know, and I also, you know, Maui, hear you talking about, you know, something that is more like on the ground, that's more, you know, kind of grassroots. And I think that that's really, you know, important as well. So just to name that.
Yeah, I mean, say if someone was not familiar with, let's say someone was using the blockchain technology, but had no idea how it works. Then say if the blockchain were not available for whatever amount of time, then would they understand the fundamentals, and would they be able to trade one-on-one in their local communities? So redundancy, of course, is important.
I would, and thanks for bringing that up, Maui. Let me take that one, because I am hopeful that this is similar to Eli's canopy system, where we built out this blockchain, and we're working with a different mindset, and we see these different energy flows, very, very different than our current economics and, time trading for money, not time trading, but, like extractive, the extractive model. And that this blockchain technology based on electricity, based on kind of networks and, it's the way it's built out now, but in some other, that it gets to where there's a canopy and that there's this, new mindset in a very practical way, such that if the global networks go away, if cheap electricity goes away, that it's still a framework of interaction, and that there's, that it settles out, that there's a different model. I hope that I explained that in a cogent way. Because your point is really, really valid. Like, we're building all this up, but I foresee that there's a new way of interacting on the other side of it that will translate to an analog, non-computer, non-network assisted, way.
Yeah, well said. I agree. I just think that it would have to be a conscious effort to realize that, and everything is user friendly now, so you don't have to understand how it works. Just use it. Just shut up and use it. But so the blockchain system, it's supposed to teach a new way of interacting. So if that's lost in the ease of use, then I don't think we're hedging our bets. I don't think we're building redundancy into the system. So yeah, I would hope it would be a conscious effort to understand that it's a system that works with pen and paper too, in some form.
Yeah, that it's sort of that part to whole to back to part, because if we've seen natural systems, the forest builds up, it becomes an apex forest, and then it burns, and then then a new cycle sort of starts up again. I don't know exactly how fire ecology works, but maybe just for example, that natural cycles exist, and wouldn't it be great if all of this effort into these systems that require all this extra stuff and scaffolding, that when it burns out, which it will, like, it leaves us with some models that we can
with seeds.
With seeds, it leaves us with seeds. Exactly.
Hey guys, I wonder if we can begin to close, or
I got it.
it's and leave it into practical steps.
Yeah, and let me show you one thing, because
no,
if we're just to leave us with, I think
no, that's it. There's no more stuff to show.
Well, I think this is good to sort of leave us with, and we can share the actual link. Let me see. What am I showing? I'm sharing my whole screen here. Because if we're there's one thing where I'm actually, I do like getting away from the idea of like trading time, and I'm really liking to think about it as far as more like trading, like value, like trading value or energy exchange, or like trading expertise, trading my skill set, that kind of thing. And so this is something that's that's fairly new, but it's like these these roles, part of what I think we're doing is trying to say, okay, well, what are all the different, sort of like roles that somebody could step into, so this is just an easy, it's kind of, I think like in, a methodology for, trading this value, or one could say trading time. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, these are like the current roles kind of in, that we're thinking about it in the DAO, the same that we're seeing in the circle. So I think, just wanted to show you that as like, for me, a way to get into the, take like the idea of how, what our needs are, and then how can we meet those needs, and in what way, in what roles are we doing that, in that exchange for each other.
Rob,
So that's,
but Rob, I think that like when we talk about value is a very subjective term because we each see our time as valuable. We each see our input, or it should be viewed for each of us as valuable. So to go and put somebody's input to be more valuable than somebody else's is I'm not comfortable with that.
yeah, well, I appreciate that. Like, I don't actually have, I mean, there are, certain methods for how to do that. But, I don't know that I have like the answer to like, this is more valuable than this, I mean, that thing I showed you is sort of just the roles, now how do you exchange value? I think that the challenge I've just seen challenges with, like 1 hour, practically with like 1 hour is worth of one person's time is worth 1 hour of one person's time. Because I think
like,
what
are you
if
saying
that's what
trading the same time for like an hour for an hour? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I've just seen practically that like challenges there, because what I've seen is then people who in our conventional society, they get paid more for their time. They're not really willing to trade their time for other services. So it's a good question, and I really like, yeah, I want to validate what you're saying. I'm just, yeah, I'm trying to, ask the question of how, how that can work, on a practical level, in a way that like that value exchange that can actually scale.
Well, that's where the reinculturation process is so valuable. Because that's ego wanting more.
That's
So, I mean, it's also possible to be so grateful that you can contribute more than, or something of more value than you received. That feeds you too, in a way.
Yeah,
So,
I like to suggest this is a very, very crucial question that needs to be answered. So if what we gain today is to reach the point where we get to ask that question, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because in the question are the answers. And I do have a model that describes how to do that with the multiple capitals. In here, what I see is that we're exchanging possibilities, mutual beneficiary possibilities that we can measure in this way. What do we Hellenic Systems Cooperative can become by having Universal Foundation holistic designs together, and vice versa? We become more than what we are by ourselves. And that is in itself a value exchange that we're mutually giving to each other. So we then begin to enhance the potentiality of realizing these possibilities again as we come together, because we're bringing more capacities. Each of us is bringing more capacities that act like a network effect in the totality of who us is becoming. So now the more and more coming together with this mindset, the more we make it, the more we increase the potentiality for actualizing our potential in a big way. And this is what we're doing just by becoming together. And that's the value exchange in a whole new way. The framework that I have produced shows that. And there's an extension, by the way, there's an extension between the personal, interpersonal, or the subjective, the subjective, the intersubjective, the subjective, the pre-subjective, the intersubjective, the transsubjective, and there's 8 intervals that show each of them is a different attribute of our potential. So that is a question that I feel that I can provide some kind of answer. And this is something that by me looking into how you put together that the triangle, we can share in there. And then I can show you a program of that is very much in alignment with cultural reinculturation that is about delivering the evolution of the mindset that is necessary to really become a correlizer of the next level of civilization, which, by the way, is the principal problem that has occurred through the emergence of seeds and many times. The ego has come in and screws things up for everybody, and then they have stolen, but we come again together. So there's got to be a healing in there. And I would say without that, in other words, in order for us to evolve consciously, we have to consciously evolve, and this is internal, right? So in looking to create a program that does that cultural that one, and we need to create a program that delivers an evolutionary transformation of our mindset. And I have that, and I figure that together we can enhance that program.
Wow.
Yes.
That sounds fantastic, Jeff. I suggest we set up another meeting and begin there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm super interested in that for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna need about 5 minutes though.
Oh, that's
just
amazing.
joking. Just joking.
I was gonna say it doesn't have to be today.
We do have to continue on here. So
Sure.
just want to say deep gratitude to you all for
Awesome.
showing up, for sharing. It means a lot to us. Really beautiful to connect with you guys, truly. I mean, there's so much synergy here. It was bound to happen at some point or another, but also really beautiful, all of you. Really great energy, well articulated. I enjoyed your company. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Natalie. Thanks, Natalie, for pointing us in the direction.
Yeah, Natalie.
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. Thanks a lot.
Like I told
Yeah.
Natalie early, Natalie, you make us better.
Yeah. I was
do,
actually
Natalie.
thinking the same thing just at the beginning of this meeting. Thank goodness she is here.
Yeah.
Wow,
Bye.
thank you all for the encouragement. 'Cause yes, sometimes my ego gets in the way.
Mm.
So it's nice to have the community to pull you back in a clear reflection, right?
That's a good
Yes.
tool.
Mhm.
We're all working on being the change we want to see, and it can take some time, so
Yeah.
it's okay.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Yeah, for
Much love to everybody.
putting it all together. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
So how
Yeah,
will you
so-
be in touch then, and when are we meeting next?
Yeah, be in
Um,
touch, and right, I'll be in touch. Maybe we have gather, emails, and then, when do we meet next? We can, we can figure out a time. I mean, we could meet, next week is fine, if everybody wants to, keep momentum going.
On the same time and link?
Does this time work for?
As long as
As
it
good
doesn't
as any.
interrupt your schedule.
But this
I
is
mean,
the time of our.
I'm thinking it might be better, because since this is a meeting where other people might jump in, it might be better for us to just kind of have our own meeting time and space, so that way, we can just be really, deliberate in what we're working on. And then that might, that can give space if there's other folks, who want to jump in.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And through Natalie, I will coordinate. I wanted to meet with you and show you all other things, but coordinate a meeting with particularly those who have created that program
Eli.
and the particular triangle, and then some things that I'm going to share that I anticipate you're going to like.
Cool, yes.
Well, it would be nice if we could do that all together. I mean, I'd love to be there for that unless you need time by yourself for that.
No, I mean.
I think it's a
just-
plus. You're gonna
just-
share it with UFHD as well, I imagine. at some point.
No, I'm just wanna meet with Nada to coordinate. There are other things that also for what we're doing with hi-fi in the circles. But then through you, I want to coordinate a meeting with all of the others.
Okay,
At
perfect.
least to
That's
bring what I
And-
yeah.
have.
you guys go
Can I
through that
share everyone's email with Rob so that he can forward? Is that okay? I'll forward the UFHD emails. Yeah? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'll take care of
perfect.
that.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well then we'll send something out and think about, next week.
All right.
By the way, one
Sounds
of the things that I say is that in this new way of coming together, you and me are the products, no, are the customers. The product is us.
Yeah, it is.
I like it. I like
Yeah, yeah.
Convergence.
That's scary.
it. No. I will
So
take
we'll
that.
leave-
I will take that beautiful Buddhist koan with
Yeah,
me
yeah.
as I go about. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank
Yeah,
everyone.
leave on that. Yeah,
Sure,
such a
everyone.
pleasure. Thank you all. Jeff, do you want to hang on this meeting?